Welcome to the Outer Realm with MicheleDerocher and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM from beautiful New Orleans. We're fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey for the last few years. So thank you, Folgers. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to. Also, big thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, for the contribution of his voice and his music and his time for the intro you just heard. He is an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite music streaming platforms. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind all of our logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the horror genre, but does phenomenal commission pieces of any type. So tonight, welcome back, my dear friend Dave Bennison from Historical Niagara, and I guess he's returning for a part 2 where we'll be digging deeper into the incredible history of Niagara. It's just so rich in history. I don't think people realize when they come here to see the falls, they don't realize just how deep all of the historical stuff goes. So tonight, we're going to finish up and go deep. So here we are. Hey.
Hello there. How are you?
How are you?
Hello, everybody. Yeah.
Hello.
You were saying this is like a continuation from before. We went through so much stuff last time. I don't even remember what it was all, but we might repeat a little bit, but that's okay. So we'll.
That's okay. Though.
It's what Michelle said something interesting there. A lot of people come to the Niagara area to. For tourism stuff. And one of the things we do here at Historical Niagara is we like to dig into those things that, the tourists might not see. And there's so much stuff here in the whole entire Niagara area to see beyond the falls. No, don't get me wrong. The falls is an amazing thing to come see. But there's so much stuff surrounding all across the Niagara, southern Ontario, and we'll get into some little interesting tidbits here that people may not know. And if somebody's got a question about something, feel free to ask.
Yeah, just pop it in there, guys. We can see
That's
you
right.
all. And again, remember, I'll flash comments up there for you guys just to see. And any questions, I'll flag those and we'll get to them as we're going to go to the beat of Dave's drum. And out of all our platforms, the only one that does not have a chat room, of course, is Roku. So please be patient and we will get to everyone, I promise. So
yeah, and you'll have to be sure, Yuri, because my eyesight's so bad. So
yeah,
I just have like I'm looking at the screen up here and everything's just fuzzy, right? So
leave it to me. I will make sure it all gets out there. All right, where do you want to start?
Yeah,
you've been doing lots of events.
You know what? Let's start, as I always say, at the beginning. So, and when I mean the beginning, with the history of Niagara, of course, one of my recent talks there I sort of delved back because I started that at the beginning. So here in Niagara, the Niagara area, when I'm talking about that, I'm saying let's go back 11, 12, 13,000 years ago, because what we see here in Niagara was formed that many years ago. And it's a really interesting story because it also tells the story of why the first people came to our area. Yeah, we could start there.
Let's do that. Let's do that, because not everybody came here just, because of honeymoon capital of the world.
Yeah. Well, people have been coming here, like you say, for, they've been coming to the honeymoon capital for the last couple hundred years, but people have been coming here for 10,000 years, right?
Wow, boy.
And possibly
it.
further back, but we'll explain a little bit about that. So,
let's do it.
Yeah. Now, I did send Michelle. You might have a picture that has a map with two. It'll show the glaciers on it. It was one of the first ones I sent you.
Yes, I am. I'm just going to look that up.
And if you can pop it up, that'll start off our conversation here. So
okay, yes. So I am going to dig those up because
So what we're talking about is, of course, here in Niagara we have the Niagara Escarpment, and of course the wonderful Niagara Falls, and of course where the falls are now. A lot of people might not realize is that they actually didn't start out there. So we've got this map. This is showing us the glaciation that used to cover all of Niagara. Well, you can see it went down into the States. The U.S. wasn't the States back then, but you can see below Lake Erie. So we're looking at 14,000 years ago where the ice sheet was, and then you look at the next one as it retreated, and you can see that great big body of water below the glacier, below Lake Ontario. And, and that's what kind of covered us here for quite some time, right? So as glaciers melted, it created these Lake Warren, and then it became Lake Iroquois, and that's eventually became Lake Ontario. But these are interesting little maps, because when we think about it, 14,000 years ago, there was 2 kilometers of ice over top of our heads.
Hard to imagine.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is in the top map that shows 1400, or 14,800, you can notice there's a little indent that comes in. You see the little indent, looks like a finger coming in.
Yes.
And that goes up right up in that area. And then if you look on the next one, you can see how as the melting actually accelerated in that area. And what's really interesting is up until, I'm going to say 15, 20 years ago, most of the artifacts that they were finding were dated around 9,000 years, but they started finding stuff over by London, Ontario that was much older. So dating back to, 11, 12, 13,000 years. And these maps actually show why that is, because what was happening is people were migrating and as the glaciers melted, the people followed, because what was happening? The animals were following the glacier melt. So people followed the animals and they followed the glacier melt. It all worked together like a symbiotic sort of thing, right? And that's why people came into this area. But people were in that area around London a lot earlier, because that area, as you can see, wasn't covered with water or ice. So it's interesting. There's always people are always like, well, why is it much older there, but we don't find that oldest stuff here in the Niagara? Well, we do find it, but it's in little pockets and stuff, and it's because of that. You can see the water that was in that area, Lake Warren, and that became Lake Erie. And
it just receded much earlier.
Yeah, exactly. So we got a picture back at, let's go back, say 10,000 years here in Niagara. And of course, Niagara Falls was where the escarpment is, right? So down at Queenston, where Queenston-Lewiston is. Yes. And that's where the falls was. And then there was another falls up at St. David's. That's a whole other story, though, with the Barry Gorge. And really interesting. We're actually going to talk about a little bit of that in one of the tunnels that we're going to get to. But so it's interesting. Tunnels. We have those people come. And so archaeology classifies it as archaic period. And then we have there was a little bit of Clovis. That's a little bit older. It's really rare to find that stuff in this area, but we do find archaic and a lot of stuff like between the 6 to 8,000, 9,000 year old range in this area. Because you got to remember there was water here, right? So people weren't really there was no further to go for them to go until the water receded.
Yes.
As the people came, of course, they were hunting, in this area, a lot of the mastodons and there's also like a lot of larger predator and prey animals here. And it's interesting because all over Niagara, we actually find like mammoth bones and I mean, they found a complete mammoth in out in Wainfleet, so which is
it's so hard to even imagine that they were here.
Yeah, that's right, and they find them all across Niagara, but we know that people were here too because in Hamilton, they found when they built the Red Hill Parkway, which is a highway for people that don't know that it connects two big highways here.
And it's about 20 minutes away, I would think.
Yeah. And when they were building that, they actually found mammoths, but they found indigenous like arrowheads and it was more spear points and in amongst the bones. So they were able to, because you can't, it's hard to date stone, but it's easy to date stuff with DNA, right? So
exactly.
Bones, right? How would you say it? Organic materials. So,
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
So we in this area, the Niagara area, we had people and they were pretty much how would you say nomads, right? So they moved around from place to place, following the food and stuff, and they set up they didn't really have villages here back then. It was sort of like they'd set up at a good place, hunt, move, and that's what we find here in Niagara. Across Niagara is a lot of the remains, you know what I mean, from the tools that they made, the stone that they sourced actually here in the Niagara area to make those tools. And it's interesting because this went on for a while, but then they got really sophisticated and started how would you say, settling down. And about 1,200 years ago, they started building villages here. And the people that were here they were actually called the Shawneton Nation. And that's what they called themselves. The other nations, so we have the Haudenosaunee, which were the Six Nations. They're actually based more to the east. So basically take like from Rochester, well, I mean, really the other side of Buffalo out to like Albany in that sort of section. That's where they originated from, right? And then we had the Shawneton here. Now, a lot of people might know, well, what's this Shawneton name? It's actually the Neutral. So you probably heard of the Neutral Nation, and it's the same group of people. So the Neutrals were here, and they started building villages and settling down and cultivating and planting crops and that. And here in Niagara, actually been about just a little over half a dozen confirmed villages that have been found. And one of the reasons I'm talking about this, because we were down at Fort Erie actually on the weekend, and we discovered a really neat little museum, and we'll talk a little bit about it, but it sort of sparked this whole conversation we're having here today, because they have artifacts there that are like 10,000 years old. So
they found a lot in there.
But,
yeah.
Well, Fort Erie. So people have heard, Fort Erie and the Peace Bridge. So where the Peace Bridge is, they did some digs back in like the 60s, and they actually found burial grounds there. Actually, where the Canada Customs is, out behind that, they found a burial ground, and I think they recovered, it was 20 or 30 like actual indigenous skeletons and stuff, and thousands and thousands of artifacts. And then it sort of got put on hold for a bit, and then in the late 80s they wound up doing another dig there, and they found an entire village. It wound up being one of the largest pre-contact villages, say pre-contact, before Europeans got here, pre-contact villages in basically southern Ontario.
Mm.
That was back at the time, and it's literally millions of artifacts were found there, and it's quite remarkable, right? So,
Well, they built a lot around the fort, and I don't think people need to realize as well is it's a star fort.
Yeah,
And
star we can
forts were
talk
not
a little
common.
bit about.
Right?
Fort Erie. Yeah, Fort Erie was a star fort. Yeah, and actually, they built the fort around the Indigenous because they were there before the fort was ever built. But after the Shawniton were gone, so in about 1620, they disappeared. They actually, as a nation, they disappeared off the face of the earth. There was a couple of things that made them disappear. One, and there again, this comes from, people always ask, where do you get this information? Well, the Jesuits, right? So the Jesuits, they were some of the first Europeans to document the Niagara area, because they were, the first Europeans to, as far as we know. There's other theories that maybe the Vikings were here before them. Who knows, right? So there's not a lot of evidence, but there's been speculations about that stuff.
Yes,
that's a whole other topic on its own. Yes. So I'm sure you might have discussed that a few times.
I love it though.
On a few things, but but with what happened was of course there was voyageurs and fur traders and stuff, and they did a little bit of documenting, but it was more the Jesuits, because they were literate and they could write and stuff. So
they went to all parts of the New World. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but here in Niagara, they were the sort of the first Europeans to document the stuff here. So that's where we get a lot of the information from. Some of it also comes from, hold a second. Some of it also comes, sorry about that, comes from.
That's okay. You're frozen anyway.
Of course, Indigenous stories and stuff, and their tales and stuff. And so it's sort of an amalgamation of it. But basically what happened with the Shawniton around 1620, they document that there was really bad weather, really cold climate, and the lakes froze up really bad. And of course, what happens when the lakes freeze here, a lot of people don't realize, and this happened actually this year, when the lakes completely freeze, it starves the lake of oxygen, and a lot of the fish die. So I don't know if you heard, but this year in Lake Erie, there was a big die-off of fish. Oh, I think we're froze up.
Yeah, it's okay. We can still hear you, though.
You can still hear me? Okay.
Yeah, so come and go.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see you, but we're not moving. So, but you can still hear. Now, is that on my end, or can you still see me moving?
You're frozen on my end, but I can hear you just fine. We can all hear you.
Yeah. Oh, there we were moving a little bit. So
yeah, you were. You come and go.
Yeah. So I'll just keep talking. So
keep talking. It's all right.
But
that's all good.
Yeah. So we, we had the in about 1620, there was like really bad weather. The lakes froze up. A lot of fish died up, but they were really having a hard time getting food. So they started starving. And of course, the crops wouldn't grow. And so for a couple of years, they started starving. Well, at the same time, you have the Jesuits coming in, and they're introducing a disease that has never been here. So they started suffering from like smallpox and stuff. Of course, this was going around all over at the time, 1600s. Nobody knew how diseases transferred, right? So
that's true. That's true.
So they started dying off with that. And then sort of the nail in the coffin, you could say, is they went to war with the Seneca, and the Seneca basically finished what was left off. Now, they didn't all get destroyed by the Seneca. Some of the Seneca took them in and adopted them. The Ojibwe, which were a little bit north, adopted them in. Some of the Huron-Wendat brought them in, and some of them did move out west towards Michigan and stuff. But pretty much by 1670, the Shawniton Nation was gone. So the numbers range from about 40,000 Shawniton people, neutrals, in 1620, and by 1670 it was reduced down to maybe a couple of thousand. So, and they were scattered.
Wow.
So after that, after 1670, of course, things changed. Europeans were coming into the area, and they made alliances with some of the groups of the Haudenosaunee, and then the Haudenosaunee came into the Niagara area, along with the Ojibwe, the Mississauga, the Credit, and they actually settled a lot of places along the Niagara River. And a lot of people don't realize when the British were making the land deals to get the land, and whether it was good or bad or however it went, they made a lot of those deals with the Mississauga of the Credit. And sometimes there's a little infighting over who made the deals or whatever, but there again, we're going by what's been written down, right? So, but it's pretty interesting. And of course, the Haudenosaunee people, the Ojibwe people are still a big part of the Niagara area culture too. And they're here. They have there's a couple of friendship centers, one in Niagara on the Lake, one in Fort Erie, and they do a lot of great work in the area. And of course, the Haudenosaunee have the big place in Brantford there, the Six Nations. So,
yes.
But we have such a rich Indigenous history here, and this doesn't even start. And then, of course, 300 years ago, a whole new history started with, the British and the French coming here and building the forts, and we see what we see today. So
and I mean, and it wasn't uncommon for people to settle around the waterways, and Niagara is such a such an incredible place. But I don't think people even realize how and where the falls actually started and how they receded over like thousands and thousands of years to where they are today. And if I'm not mistaken, they continue to recede, don't they? Yeah,
they do. Now, at one time it used to be they would recede about a foot a year.
Wow.
But in the last, I'm going to say, well, basically in the last, 100 years, they control it now, right? So they can, so the recession now is down to probably a couple of inches. Mind you, you're going to get parts that are going to fall off and stuff, but but the Niagara River is completely controlled now. So and a lot of that came in the 1930s when they built for the hydro, Sir Adam Beck Hydro Dam, and they built the hydro canal.
Yeah.
That changed a lot of the dynamics of how the river flows and stuff. It's actually interesting. We have the Welland River. You know the Welland River, right, Michelle?
Yes.
So the Welland River is pretty unique because it's a river that can actually flow in both directions,
which is
depending
crazy
on what we want it to do. So
it's
some
crazy.
days it'll flow, from the west to the east, but then they can reverse it and flow it from the east to the west, and that's to help with controlling the hydro dams there. So it's
because we are a hydroelectric mecca.
That's right. And we've been for a long time, actually. And we think of Niagara as being the only sort of hydro, but before that, there was actually a large hydro setup at a place called Decoux Falls, and that's where the original one was. Here at in Niagara and St. Catharines, and of course Lake Gibson was built to feed that, but that was an even earlier one before the ones at Niagara Falls. So really interesting history there. So of course Decoux Falls is famous because actually it's kind of interesting because it's sort of ties in with Laura Secord and the whole Laura Secord story, because that's where she made her famous walk and went from Queenston to Decoux Falls, right? So, well, it was the Fitzgibbon's house, and then the Battle of Chippewa took place, and it's quite the story.
Lots of very rich history.
Oh yeah.
But when you go back to Fort Erie, and I think when they were Now they were doing a renovation. How does this work exactly? They were doing a renovation or addition, or they were doing something when they uncovered a lot of artifacts, and people who moved in to the area or who resided in the area who were also putting on additions and so on also found, I believe they found soldiers from 1812 that were returned to the United States.
So just to give you an idea, and a lot of people don't know this, Fort Erie has been built 5 different times.
Wow.
It's gone through 5 different transformations.
Wow.
The original fort actually is underwater. Where the Niagara River is, that's where the original fort is. It's actually all basically underwater now.
Oh my gosh. I never knew that.
Well, it's actually an interesting story because that was built in the 1700s. There is, some people think there may have been something with a French thing there before that in the 1600s. It's hard to tell because there was the French, of course, were on the what's called the American side, on the east side of the river, and they had forts. Of course, Fort Niagara, Fort Conte was the original French fort down on Lake Ontario, and that's a really old, one of the original forts in the area. And there is some little bit of evidence that the French maybe had some facilities on this side of the river, but they were there for such a short period of time. How would you say, their carbon footprint's really hard to find.
Yes.
But when they built the fort at Fort Erie, the original one, the Indigenous told them and said, don't build the fort there because the ice is going to destroy your fort. And the British said, well, we don't care. And they built it there, and guess what happened? Ice came along a couple years later and kind of destroyed the fort. And, so then they moved it back. And so the fort that we see today is built a little bit more on the later forts because they had to keep moving it back. And then, of course, in the War of 1812, Fort Erie was completely destroyed, right? And then it actually was destroyed. The Americans took it over, and then they fixed it back up a little bit, and then it got destroyed again, and then it kind of sat doing nothing till, well, there's a whole other story till the 1860s, and then in 1866 there was the Fenian raids. But that's a whole talk about the Fenian raids, and to get into that. But they commandeered the fort for a short time and made it their base of operations, and that was they were trying to overthrow the British government at the time. And
all the way from over here.
yeah. And we dropped off here, but are you doing something there, Michelle? Or?
No, I'm right here. I hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay.
You're frozen, like your image, but I hear you just fine. So,
I hear you. So I just,
Jim was asking about, is there not an American captain who haunts Fort George?
Fort George?
Yeah.
There could be, because the Americans did take over. I don't know much about the hauntings there. So we're actually at Fort George about a month ago, and they fired the cannons off and did got to shoot the guns and stuff, and it was nice to,
which is so cool. I love the reenactments.
The shoot the brown bess, but we didn't get much into, but there is Michelle, there's a lot of different haunting stories there, and of course that place traded hands a number of times too, right? So
yes, well, we have 4 or 5 forts in the area. I mean, we've got Fort George, Fort Erie, Fort Mississauga, Fort Niagara, and the Lewiston Fort.
And those are the ones that we can see. There's actually other forts that
that's where I wanted to go.
So we did have one at Chippewa. So it was Fort Chippewa / Fort Welland. And it actually played a minor role in the War of 1812. And it wasn't like a big, star fort kind of thing, but it did play a bit of bit of a role. And it's funny, it's completely gone now. Like
Crazy.
that part of the Welland River was all manipulated when they built the Welland Canal. And
Yes.
so that fort's gone. There was also another smaller, I wouldn't say a fort, but they classify it as a fort, but it wasn't. It was a redoubt. So a redoubt is like a temporary, usually has a barracks in the middle and then surrounded by an earthwork. It probably has some, sticks sticking out of it, but then they'd have cannons around it. And there was one at Queenston Heights. So where Brock Monument is, there was one there. And
wow.
And you can actually go and see the remains of it. There's not much left. It's actually they turned it into a splash pad for kids. Right?
Oh boy.
So, yeah. And then the other part, there's part of the redoubt. They called it Fort Riel. It wasn't really a fort. It was just an earthworks for cannons. But that was actually turned into the landscape of the nations. It's to honor all the Indigenous people that fought in the wars. So in the War of 1812, and there's a fantastic setup there. So
it's very interesting that you say that about the fort. I didn't know that. I was up there with a group of people a few years back now, and they were doing, I guess, voice recordings, spirit voice recordings, EVPs.
Right.
And they actually captured all kinds of stuff that had to do with soldiers. But, you put it off as General Brock, right? You don't really think much about that. But I think some of the recordings that were coming up were really indicative of there would have been a fort. Now it makes sense.
Right. Yeah, now that there was one there. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know. Now it makes sense. It's like, what?
Oh, yeah. And of course, so much happened at that, Queenston Heights with the War of 1812. But another fort that you don't hear much about is the fort. And we actually went there with you and Wayne and your son down to Port Maitland.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was more of a naval depot, but it was built right after the war. So, and it was, at the time there was a lot of, how would you say, there was still fear the U.S. was going to invade again. So they thought, let's pull the forts back away from the Niagara River. And that was one that was built in the place. And of course, there was going to be one built in Font Hill. I call that the fort that never was.
Right.
And that was going to be a fort. It never got built, but you can actually go there and see where they were going to put it, though. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah,
it is. It really is. It's so fascinating when you think that these are fairly large structures at one time.
Oh yeah,
and to think that they're just completely, some of them are completely gone.
Now, I just got to ask Michelle, am I like completely gone now, or
no? You're just frozen. You move periodically.
Yeah, that's weird.
So but you're coming in crystal clear. So
No,
you freeze and move periodically, but we can hear you clearly. Yeah, you're not cutting out.
This end or... Well, no, it's not cutting out. So it's weird that it's doing that. So
I mean, I'm moving okay.
Yeah. So
see me. Yeah.
But no, I just wanted to check. So, but so like with the War of 1812, there's a lot of history just in that area, in all of Niagara, and of course, with haunting places, like it's just pretty much, Niagara is classified as one of the most haunted places. In Niagara on the Lake, you could spend a week there, probably going to every house that has a haunting in it, right? So,
no, for sure. For sure.
But
it's true. It's loaded.
Yeah. That's it. So, but, one of the things we talk about too is in the Niagara area that changed a lot of things. Of course, the one big thing that changed a lot was, there we're back now. So I see you.
Yeah, you're off and on. Yeah.
We're still popping in it. We say with you're popping in and off, but I hear you fine. So
yeah, it's so strange because my internet, I'm showing a strong connection. And
same here. Yeah. So, but that's okay as long as you can hear. So.
Oh yeah, we can hear fine. That's all right. So yeah.
It's a radio show mostly anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, when I check us on some of the other streams,
Yeah.
I'm definitely moving. You're not moving.
No. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah,
So
so it's strange, but here we are.
yeah. So,
Yeah,
but
there you go.
one of the things, like I say, we talk about is like and I think we talked a lot about the Welland Canal last
We
time.
did.
So, and
Yes.
it's one of the big things that changed this area. Actually, changed a lot of North America, right? But
Mhm.
one of the big things here in Niagara that changed a lot of things is the coming of the railroad, and
Ah.
actually. It's a whole other topic, but there was an early railroad in Niagara Falls that actually went from Queenston to Chippewa. And that was one of the first railroads actually in North America, right? So,
Wow.
and really, really early railway system. It was so early that the first rails they built were made out of wood, and they had wooden rails.
Crazy.
And it was, instead of having like diesel engines and train engines, steam engines, I mean, they were pulled by horse. And there's a whole thing about how they had to get up the escarpment, and
That would have been a job.
yeah. It was interesting when you read about it, because they had to have a team of horses at the bottom of the hill, a team of horses at the top of the hill, and they would trade off because it was so how would you say taxing on the horses to do this job, right? So of course that's the way to get around the Niagara Falls, was you had to take the portage, right, from Queenston to Chippewa.
Oh, yeah.
So they basically built the rail to follow along the same thing, and that road's still there, Portage Road. It's one of the oldest roads in southern Ontario, actually. So
God, that's crazy when you factor in like the Pioneer Route.
oh yeah,
Like going, north into Ontario. It is really fascinating that the oldest route would be here.
Yeah. It's right here in Niagara. Well, that because the first Europeans kind of came and they settled here along the Niagara River, and then up, of course, like from Montreal, Kingston area, right? So,
Yes.
And graduated down the St. Lawrence. So they came from sort of both directions there. So, but one of the things, we talk about is the railway coming. So that railway was an early one, but it was just a short one. It didn't go very far. But then a company called there was, it amalgamated into two, but we'll get into it. It was called the Great Western Railway. So the Great Western runs all across Canada into the U.S. It's been around for since the around the middle 1800s, a little bit earlier. It started going, but in 1854, the line had 53. The rail line had only gone to the Hamilton, Toronto area. So in 1854, they built a line from Hamilton to Niagara Falls. And then, of course, it went into the U.S. after that. And that became the Great Western. And that Great Western cut right across, and it wound up changing a lot of dynamics in the Niagara area. Villages started moving because of the rail, also because of the canal, but it was sort of a two-pronged attack on the area. But what's interesting is when they built this railway, they had to build all these tunnels to negotiate over to deal with the escarpment. The canal, you had to figure out what we were going to do. Do we bridge over the canal? And we'll get into that. But if we start from Niagara Falls following the Great Western Railway in 1854, one of the first tunnels you sort of come across that they built was one at St. David's. So it's the St. David's Tunnel. And that was actually built for passengers and like horse and buggy to go underneath it. And that tunnel was built with limestone from Queenston Quarry. And it's actually still there. And but it's buried.
Okay, so there's no pictures of that. Yeah, because I know you sent some, but
Yeah, no, I do have there is a picture of it. If you look at
okay, 1 minute.
the pictures, there is one. You should come up and it'll say St. David's Tunnel.
Okay, let me just okay, 1 second. Let me go and see.
You'll see a train going across a bridge.
Okay. I'm messing across with some here. Okay, I'm close because yes, okay. So I'm going to put this one down here.
It's like a painting.
Like a painting.
Yeah.
It's
one of the
okay.
It'll say St. David's Tunnel.
Yeah. Oh no, I see it. I just have to get to it.
Yep.
Because over here everything bunches right up. So okay, I've got it.
Yeah.
I've got it. Here we go. Okay.
I might not see it because everything's kind of
well, it's pretty big. Let me see if I can just put it up here. And okay, how about that one? You see that one?
I got the train. I can't see it, but that's okay.
It's got the train. It's the one with the train going over it.
Oh, here we go.
It looks like a postcard almost. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it actually is a postcard.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
So that one there. You got it up there now?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I see it now. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the St. David's Tunnel. Yeah. So now, and that was originally, like you say, built horse and buggy. Of course, vehicles used to drive in, and this was here for a long, long time, up until like the 60s and 70s. It actually was still in use, and then they built the new the new St. David's. Well, it's 4 Mile Creek Road and St. Paul are now there, but if you look at this picture and you go to the left of it, basically where that tree is, there's a tree to the left. That's where the new road is. Yeah, right in that area. Yeah.
Wow.
So the new road goes there, but it's actually up above that. So it's
so is the tunnel itself still there, Dave?
The tunnel is still there. It's buried. So if you go there, especially in the spring or fall, you can actually see that line that's on the top, like the cap on the top of the tunnel.
Yeah. Right
above the arch.
Yes.
So, right there.
Yeah.
You can actually see that in the ground. So that's still sticking out. It's a little bit of a trek to get into it, but it is still there. And the tunnel's they just buried it. So they used to call it the Horn Tunnel because people would drive through and they get their mom or dad to blow the horn as they drove the car through the tunnel. So
it's such a shame. I mean, I get it, progress, you have to
eventually
things go, but
it would be really nice is because it's still there, and I mean it doesn't really affect anything on either side. Would be to reopen that up and maybe make it part of a walking trail. So I think it's been suggested to do that, right? So
now the picture you have with the red arrow, is that the same spot with
if you look at the one with the red arrow,
I'm just going to put it up for people.
That kind of gives you an idea of
the difference. Okay, here we go. There we go.
Yeah, it'll take a second. Yeah, there we go. So now if you look today, this is what you would see today. And where I put that red arrow is where that tunnel we just looked at is. So.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So it is really buried under there.
And interesting with this picture that we're looking at too. So if we were on the left-hand side, but come like sort of behind you, right? That's where that indigenous ossuary is. Now you've been there before. That was where one of the largest indigenous burial grounds ever found in Canada was there. Mm-hmm. And it's all completely gone now. It's a subdivision that's up.
I know. I can't even imagine it.
Yeah. And it's such a shame that was all lost. But
is that where the escarpment subdivision is?
Yeah,
where that big cave is.
So in this picture, we're looking north, and way off in the distance is actually Lake Ontario. So we're looking down the escarpment. Another sort of interesting note. Remember, I was saying about where Niagara Falls. So if you're looking at this picture and you're looking to the right of this picture, that's where Queenston is. So that's where the falls would have originated. Queenston Heights and everything is off to the right.
Yes.
Of this photo. But
and to the left is where the pit is and that big subdivision, and the pit is right after that. Wow.
No, the pit's on the right. So the subdivision's on the subdivision's on the left, and then if you go a little further, you got Fireman's Park.
Yes.
So Fireman's Park's right there. Yeah.
Okay.
But the Queenston Quarry is off to the right here. So
okay. Because I know there's some big new subdivision up there.
Yeah, they're building a new subdivision in where the Queenstown. Well,
Yeah.
they're supposed to be. I don't know what's going on there.
I was thinking of the one, remember when we went down to the very end and we climbed up and we went through the woods and we ended up in this big cave with water.
Yeah. The tunnel. Yeah. Or the cave. Yeah. We were there this spring. We went and checked it out. Yeah.
Well, that's why I thought that was on the left for some reason. I thought
no, that's on the right. Yeah.
Okay. See right there.
Sort of
that's
up
crazy.
Yeah.
All those people in the subdivision, thinking you had like these really old graves up there.
Yeah.
Where did they go?
Right. So, well, the thing is like where the indigenous ossuary is, like they dug everything out, like it's just completely gone, right? But what's interesting with this too is where we're looking here. This was a waterfalls at one time.
Oh, over here.
This was before the falls would have been at Queenston. The falls would have been here, and this is where the buried gorge is. So, and there's actually a buried underground gorge, but this is an older falls. So,
wow.
But that's what we're sort of looking at, the remains of the old falls that used to be here, going down here. So, of course, down here is 4 Mile Creek. Amazing history there. War of 1812 stuff happened. St. David's is actually, if you look between the bridges there, that's St. David's down there.
Right.
And was some of the first mills in the Ontario area were down along 4 Mile Creek. And an interesting little note, if you ever go to St. David's, is a lot of people don't know this because they don't talk about it very much, but for about 6 to 8 months during the War of 1812, it was the capital of Canada.
What?
And it ties into when Toronto was destroyed by the Americans. And right after that, of course, Simcoe, his buildings in the Parliament buildings, which were at the fort, it wasn't really what we think of Parliament buildings. It was basically a shack, right? Yeah. But it was destroyed by the Americans, burnt to the ground, and they moved the head, like the capital of Canada, to St. David's. It was only here for a short time while they rebuilt York. But there's a little church there, and if you go to that church, there's a stone out front, and it says De Rottenburg on it, and there's the whole story of De Rottenburg and how that became the capital for just a short time. Yeah,
that is insane.
It's really neat though. So
it is. That's insane. Wow.
So going from here, if we start heading west, our next tunnel that we come to is, of course, the famous Screaming Tunnel.
Okay, and I've got
and
that
there is
queued
a
up.
picture. I do have a picture of the Screaming Tunnel there.
Right here. Okay, I'm going to put this one up right here. Okay, there we go.
All righty. Yeah. So Screaming Tunnel's up.
The Screaming Tunnel's up.
You've been there.
a couple of times, yeah. Yeah.
Of course, Screaming Tunnel has an amazing history. It's been here a long time. It's gone through a few different changes. Not really, but again, this was originally built by the Great Western Railway, and I'm going to give you something a lot of people don't know, and I've heard of people argue, but I don't care. There's actually documentation on this. Is the real name of this tunnel is called the Fitzpatrick Tunnel. And that was what it was. That was what it was classified by the Great Western. It was actually, it had two classification. It was actually like mile. They used to classify them by mile marker and then mileage, and it was something else. But it was like mile marker, like number 7, blah blah blah, designation 14. And then it had a thing called the Fitzpatrick Tunnel on it. That was what it was before it became known as the Screaming Tunnel, right? So,
wow.
When this was originally dug, this was going to be so what we're seeing is above, and this is an active rail line, so trains still go over top of this. What we're looking at is through the tunnel is basically we're looking south. So this is a north-south axis. The trains go east-west over top. So in 1854-55, the Great Western had thought about building a north-south line. And they started digging this this was going to accommodate a train line going through. But what wound up happening is they ran out of money to build this north-south line, and the project was just basically scrapped, and the tunnel was never actually completed until about 1878, 79, 1880. Now, around this time, the Grand Trunk Railroad had purchased, or they acquired, the Great Western, and they morphed into the Great Western, and they're the ones that actually finished this. But when they finished this tunnel in the late 1870s, 1880s, they did it for a couple of reasons. Of course, it wasn't going to be a train line anymore. It was made to, you can see there's water there.
Yes.
So it was to, a lot of the fields, there was a farmhouse on the other side, and the water wasn't draining properly. So it was for drainage, but it was also so that the farmers and the local people had access to basically not have to climb up over this hill. You know what I mean? And you could, you could get your farm equipment through there. And that was what it was built in the 1880s for. Originally, it was going to be one thing, and then it got transformed into this.
It looks so small, though. I mean, and I've been in it.
It does.
Yeah.
It looks small, but it's actually fairly large, right? Like, it's high.
It's deceiving. So, it was the height. Yeah, for a train car, you would think, but for width, like, it would have been pretty tight.
Yeah, but don't forget, it never was completed for trains. It was started as that, but it never actually was completed. So it was like a half project that never ended. And then they just said, well, we don't need to make it that big. We'll just, you know what I mean? Make it to accommodate horse and buggy, right?
But when because when you look at this and then you look at the Blue Ghost Tunnel for the pictures you said after that, you could see the difference.
Oh yeah, and we'll get into that.
Yeah,
one
of
next.
course.
Yeah, and of course, the Fitzpatrick, it has a really interesting story. The story about the Fitzpatrick comes from, it's an old, I don't know if it's like an original St. Catherine standard. Like, they've been around for like 120 years, but it was an article that was written. Oh, no, that's what it was. It was the Farmer's Almanac, and it was like a 1910 Farmer's Almanac. And that's where the story from the Fitzpatrick Tunnel came. There was an article in the 1910 Farmer's Almanac about a brother named Fitz, and another guy. He was Patrick. It was a German and an Irish guy, and apparently they were in Thorold and they were drinking it up, and they were coming home. They were actually heading back to St. David's, and they went through the tunnel, and apparently they got in a knife fight in the middle of the tunnel. And they wound up stabbing each other a whole bunch of times, but they never killed each other, but they stabbed each other. And apparently that's where this Fitzpatrick came from, as they put the two names together. Now, I find it's probably an embellishment of the story to, you know what I mean, to sell the story.
Yes.
One of the things is a lot of times these names would be named after like somebody that actually built the tunnel or had something to do with nearby. So it was probably more of that, but they wanted to make a story. And I totally understand that. I thought it was kind of cool. But of course, we get the Screaming Tunnel. And the Screaming Tunnel story came in about 1920. And again, so people always say, why is it the Screaming Tunnel, right? And of course, the big legend with this tunnel is there was a farmhouse on the other side. And that there was a farmhouse there. And you can actually go, the foundations are there and everything. But the legend is that something happened with the daughter. The house caught on fire. She ran into the middle of the tunnel, and she fell down dead in the middle of the tunnel.
That's the story,
and screaming, right? And so that's one. There's other stories that go with it, but that's the big one. So that came about in about the 1920s, and it stuck for a little bit, but it kind of disappeared for a long time. And then something quite amazing happened in 1982, and that's when they decided to film a movie here. And you probably know the movie I'm talking about. So
yeah, go ahead. You can say it. Yeah.
So The Dead Zone with Christopher Walken, and they actually filmed it here. And it basically, when that was filmed and the movie came out and the tunnel was brought back, it got exposure and it became a hotbed again, and the name came back. And of course, it became one of the biggest, and Michelle will attest to this, is for all the different paranormal researchers in the Niagara area, this was like the place everybody came to do research, right? So
I mean, it's kind of crazy because, I mean, if let's just say the legend is correct and it did
Right.
happen, then it could be like a residual, just a sound like I mean, stone picks up everything and it's like a tape recorder. It holds it. Or it could just be a manifestation of all the energy from all these people coming out to research it, and it creates a whole different energy as well.
Well, and the
Because
other
I
thing
mean,
is,
voice recordings were captured in this thing, so it comes from there's something.
well, the other thing is we got to remember is so in this picture, right? So we're looking south. To the left is our east. So the QEW, right, is
the highway.
just the highway. Is not too far from here.
That's right.
On the other side of the highway is the Warner Cemetery, and it's an old, late 1700s, early 1800s cemetery.
Yeah, so pioneers,
literally 300-400 feet from this place. So you know what I mean? It's
you're gonna get some stuff.
What's that?
You're gonna get something.
So it makes sense. But and of course, one of the legends is that if you go there at midnight, you light a match and stand in the middle of the tunnel. The match if the match goes out, then the ghost is there to see you, right? So,
right.
It's interesting. But besides that, it is a really interesting tunnel. Of course, the water running through. You go in here and you can really notice the temperature difference when you walk, and it could be boiling out. And you walk in there and it drops like 15 degrees, right? So, So
it's definitely a difference, and I think it's just easy to get to, so everybody goes for it. Unlike the Blue Ghost Tunnel, which is
and what's interesting with this one, like you could, basically where I'm taking this picture from, I'm standing outside the vehicle. You can park right there and walk into it. Like so this is actually part of the Bruce Trail now too. So if you do go through this tunnel, like we can see here, and you make a left on the other side, you can actually take a bridge over top of the QEW and follow that all the way up to Queenston Heights, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Or you can go the other way and go to Tobermory. So,
it's true.
Interesting with this bridge is the one that we showed before. So the St. David's Tunnel and this tunnel, all built around the same time, and built by the same engineers.
Oh wow! So, really?
Let's go to our next tunnel, and of course you've talked about it a few times, and that's the Blue Ghost Tunnel. So you should have a couple of pictures. Think of my hand.
I do. Yeah, I'm going to pull it up right now. I just right away when I pulled up the photo, I could see the difference in the building, the architecture of it, which I found I love. I mean, aside from the fact I love tunnels, I do love architecture. So here we go. See the difference?
Still lagging out, but
I don't know. I'm moving. Okay, there it is. Hello. Did we lost Dave? Hello. Dave. Okay, we'll wait for him to come back. So this is the Blue Ghost Tunnel, and there's a lot of history here. I mean, I think maybe Dave needs to come back in. Hello. I think he's just gone. We can't even hear him. Okay. Hopefully he'll come back. So, okay, I'm going to come back to a comment that Christina, as far as the Screaming Tunnel, water may charge the bridge energetically, 100%. Definitely, I agree with you on that. A beautiful tunnel. Yeah, the hand is stone. We have these all over the place here. They're really awesome. So I'm going to, okay, well, hopefully he'll be back. Hopefully, well, he better be back. He's the one that's got the whole backstory on all of this. I have to say, in waiting for him to come back, this is an exceptional tunnel and allegedly haunted. It's not so much like this anymore because you can't get to it anymore. And I don't want to give the whole backstory because that's for Dave to get into. But quite a few years ago, I would say about 15 years ago, now it's all boarded up because there's a very famous car company on there. It actually is on their property, and it's boarded up. They like just to keep people out of it. And young family, they were away here. It was in the winter, and the screaming tunnel, you obviously exactly what it sounds like. Not screaming, sorry. The blue ghost tunnel. Allegedly, there's like a blue mist that appears, or a spirit. And we don't know that this was ever actually in use or not. But again, that's why Dave's here. However, they sent me a photo, and there was this big wooden structure, just totally closed it all in, and there was a little man door inside of it, and the husband was posing with his kids, and the wife was taking the photo, and out comes from this man door, and I mean, just a crack, was this really beautiful, almost turquoise, a little bit darker than turquoise, blue mist that was coming out of it. It was just a beautiful, crisp day, and it was behind them. So it's not like somebody was breathing on them or anything like that, but still, to breathe blue mist would be pretty incredible as well. So I thought that was a pretty cool photo. It is the only one that I've actually ever received pertaining to this. And that was the end of that. So let me just try to see if I can get a hold and see what happened to Dave. 1 second. Okay. All right. So we'll see what happens here. He could just be having tech issues. I mean, if he's gone, I'm thinking he's gone. But anyway, so I will just dig up a few more pictures of said tunnel while we're at it, because we have interior photos as well. So bear with me here. And I'm going to pull up another photo while we are on the topic. Hi, Tara. How's it going? All right. Is this because of the sun flares? Solar flares. You know what? I have had more people telling me today that they've been running into tech issues, and we've had quite a few tech issues happening right here on this network today. Network issues we don't normally have. And I just think the whole bloody tech world is going crazy. So let me remove this one, and I'm going to put up another one, and hopefully Dave will make it back, and I will muddle through as best as I can with this stuff, because I don't have the information on all of it. Unfortunately, I am not the historian. Okay, so hold on. I think this is our guy just getting back to me here. We froze up. Yes. Okay. Use the same link. Thankfully, Dave's wife, Victoria, was a host here on Fika with Vicky that used to be on the network. So if anybody can get her back or get him back on, it would be her. So here's another photo from, again, a different angle, but also this is the Blue Ghost Tunnel as well. So again, we'll bring it up, once she does bring him on. I think we're having a chit chat over here. Reboot. Okay. Reboot away. There we are. Okay. So again, you're looking at the architecture, but it doesn't look like there were ever any tracks there. Mind you, they could just be buried. There is no way that you can even access it anymore. And I mean, I can't really blame it. You have this company, and their thoughts are they don't want people getting hurt. But when you look at, the difference, I mean, if the same people built this, who built the Screaming Tunnel, you can clearly see a huge difference, maybe in evolution, just as, in architecture, but it just looks phenomenal. Hello. But the dead zone, we were talking about the dead zone with the Screaming Tunnel, which was the one we just showed, which is where the dead zone was filmed. Yes. So without power, there is no tech world. You're not wrong. You are not wrong. Speak through these pictures. Oh, these pics speaks to such a thoughtfulness to the construction. Yeah, I think they used to do that way back in the day. It's interesting because I have been so grateful and so honored with respects to my life and all the travel that I've been able to do throughout my life. And like I said, I love architecture so much. And when you travel to different parts of the world, especially really old parts of the world, when you can look at a bridge that's at least 1,000+ years old, and the construction of it, it really makes us feel like, I think, like we're novices on this side of the world. Yet you look at some bridges here, I mean, easily 100, 200 years old in some places, but you can look at a structure that is ancient. And I mean, and it holds true. It stays completely erect. It stays, it's still hanging in there without any issues. I think Dave is back. You good, Dave? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. There we go. You're back.
Hello, Michelle. Can you hear me?
I can. Much better.
Okay, so I had to come on my. Can you see me there? Or?
Yeah, we can see you fine.
Okay. I had to go onto my phone, so I don't. The computer just froze right up. I don't know what happened, but
solar flares.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So yeah, no, you know what it is. You know what it is because we're talking about Blue Ghost Tunnel.
I know that's what it is. All of a sudden, you went down like a sack of rocks.
Yeah. So, did you talk a little bit about it, or?
We just talked a little bit about it. I didn't get into it again.
Right.
Expanding on what you've said with respect to it being the same people who built.
Right. Now, have you showed just this picture so far?
No, there's the other one. But you want me to go back to the first one?
Yeah, if you go back to the first one real quick and then come back to this.
Yeah. So 1 second, bringing that one up, and we're all commenting on the difference in architecture with them.
Yeah. And still, again, this tunnel was built by the same group of people. So
yeah, there we are.
Yeah. Okay. So and why I wanted to show this. So this is the west side of the tunnel.
Okay.
That we're looking at, right? Yeah. So again, the Blue Ghost Tunnel. Its actual real name is the Meriton Tunnel, and because it is in Meriton, Ontario, part of Thorold, St. Catharines area, and what's interesting is. This tunnel they started building it in the late 1870s, and it took several years to build this tunnel. One of the reasons is before this, so we had the first and second Welland Canal, and the only way to get across those canals was to use a swing bridge. So when trains came up there, they had to time everything. It became quite the hassle to, to get trains across because the ships probably would have had the priority. So one of the ideas is when they built the third Welland Canal, which started being built in the 1870s, this was the solution, was to build a tunnel underneath it. So interesting is the Blue Ghost Tunnel is 713 feet long.
Wow. And
it still exists there. So like you say, we're looking at the west end. So if you go back to that other picture.
Okay. Now, Dave, was this ever actually used?
It was used. So so the trains use this tunnel from 1882, 83 it opened up, and it actually was used up until about 1920, somewhere around there. Basically, when they started building the fourth Welland Canal, this became would you say they didn't need it anymore once they built it became obsolete. So we're actually looking at, this is the rare side to see this picture because this is the east side, and this is actually pretty difficult to get to. What's interesting is this picture. This is usually flooded out in the wintertime or in the spring, so you couldn't even walk here. But I got to think there's one of the women that's on my page there. She does a lot of how would you say exploring. Karen Lamarty, and she took this picture.
Urban exploring.
Yeah, and she took this picture. So I got to thank her for this because you don't get to see this side. What's nice with this side is that because nobody's sort of goes on this, you can see how pristine this looks compared to the other side. And if you go to the other side today, that hole that we see is all walled up, right? So,
well, I was saying probably about 15 years ago, someone sent me a photograph with the other side. It was all walled up,
Yeah.
And there's a little man door in it. And of course, the blue ghost tunnel. So the wife sent it to me because she was taking pictures of her husband and her family. They were all standing in front of that wall, and the little man door was open just a smidge. And when she took the photo, this beautiful bright turquoise mist was coming out of it towards them.
Right.
It was crazy. It's the only
Oh,
time
yeah.
I've ever seen
Yeah.
anything like that. But I mean, at the time, I didn't know where this was.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting with the Blue Ghost Tunnel, why it has a lot of, and there again, it's another one that a lot of paranormal investigators and stuff flock to. And you had mentioned this before. At one time, you could almost drive to this. Now it's pretty difficult to get here, mainly because it's on General Motors and Seaway property, and a lot of accidents had happened around here, so they had to kind of close it off to the public. Now people still go in there, but you just got to be careful, right? So, but what's really interesting with this tunnel is it went underneath the canal. It also went under a huge weir pond, and I actually have a picture you can show with a ship going over top of this, a black and white one.
Oh, okay, hold on.
And there is another one of inside the tunnel too. So.
Okay, well, what we'll do is I'll show the ship going over it first.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's a great picture. Then I'll show the inside.
What it looks like inside. Yeah.
Yeah, for the curiosity seekers. So give me one moment. This is incredible. I showed you how long ago this was.
Yeah.
Look at this thing. Wow.
Yeah. So this is actually around, I believe this photo was taken about 1905, somewhere around there. It was sort of the last era of the sailing ships, right? So, and then it was, late 1800s into the 1900s was the transfer from sailing to all steel vessels, right? So, but we're actually looking, so from this picture, we're actually looking west. So we're on the east side looking west. And if you look in the foreground, you'll see these cross X's.
Mm-hmm.
So that's this side of the tunnel, and that's a brace that holds the wall up. So the trains could go, so the train would go right beside, underneath those X's there. That's actually bracing to hold the wall up to keep the canal from falling on it.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Wooden braces.
Yeah. And then,
that's frightening.
And then the tunnel went, through here. But really interesting is, I don't think I included it, but I do have a picture of when they built this tunnel. So and this will explain a lot of stuff, but when they built this tunnel, I believe there was recorded about 20 to 25 people were killed building this tunnel. Now that's what was recorded, but a lot of people that worked on these tunnels weren't, you know what I mean? They were immigrants. They came from Ireland and stuff. They had no families. They had no, nobody knew who they were. And
which was so sad.
Yeah. So the numbers could be up to 100 people that died here. They just don't really know. There was 25 registered ones, but there could have been a lot more that died building this tunnel alone. Now, so you have that. Another thing is on the west side. So basically, if you look to the left of this photo, the tunnel goes out, you know what I mean, on the far end of the picture there. There was a train wreck there. So it was a head-on collision, and two trains head-on, and just outside of the tunnel, the two people were killed. So they were killed there in the head-on collision. There's a story about a little boy that died inside the tunnel or just outside the tunnel. I'm not sure the circumstances of that. Okay. And then, of course, just south of here, you have the graveyard that was flooded, and in the church, and so that's pretty interesting, So you've got, I think there was 600 or 700 graves there. They were told back, to move these when they were going to flood the area, and anybody that didn't get moved, well, they just got flooded out. So
God, stuff still
I'm
happens.
okay here, so yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's very sad to
yeah,
think that,
yeah.
all that flooded.
Oh yeah, yeah. But so you've got that there, and then of course there was a plane crash actually to the north of here too. So this whole area is surrounded by death, right? So
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah. So,
so this is
one way or
interesting.
another.
Showing inside the tunnel, right? So
Mhm.
and the tunnel's actually on a curve, so it's
Mhm.
pretty interesting. So I see
Yeah.
somebody's typing something there, but I
Oh,
can't
yeah,
read it.
they're just telling everybody to. I just flash up
Yeah.
things to like,
Oh, I see.
subscribe, share, comment.
Yeah.
We love you for it. Thank you.
Now, this that we see here, of course, wasn't like that when the trains went through. This was put in after because with all the water and on top of it, it was
Mhm.
actually starting to collapse a little bit.
Wow.
So I think these might have been put in the 60s to keep it from completely collapsing. So, and of course, after the train stopped using it, people were still using this for like to get through, right? So
Mhm.
for farmers and stuff used it. There was another tunnel, a little bit, two of them. There's actually two tunnels just north of here.
Mhm.
Um, and
Huh.
that was for this old St. David's Road, and those two tunnels are still there. They're buried though. So, well, the
Oh, I
one is,
see.
the other one is open. So,
Mhm. Oh,
but
no, my
but
that's
again, same engineers that built this as the other ones. And interesting enough is the guys that built these were all masons, right? So they were all
ah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so really interesting, yeah. But yeah, this is an interesting one of the more interesting tunnels to check out in the Niagara area. so
Yeah. Oh,
so yeah.
absolutely.
So
Okay.
now
So,
yeah, so what we'll do, we'll carry on. So there's another one. If you come up here, it'll see 15 Creek Tunnel.
okay,
You
one
see that one,
second.
or 15 Mile Creek?
Yeah, one second. I'm just coming up here just to see where we're at. Trying to find it, trying to find it. Yes, okay, that's the next one with the water.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, one second. Here we go. Tunnel. Love. It's a tunnel, which I dig. Okay, here we go. Sorry, it's taking me a bit of time, but I got a lot of
Well,
pictures
that's
to go
okay.
through. This one.
So yeah, so notice this one looks very similar to the
Mm-hmm.
one we just looked at, the Lugos Tunnel. Now this isn't a long one. This is a shorter one, but same structure, almost the same sort of size as the other one. And
Mm-hmm.
this one goes at 15 Mile Creek. So for people that don't know, in Niagara along Lake Ontario, all the rivers or creeks, as they're rivers, but creeks that run from Niagara on the lake all the way up to Hamilton are all numbered by their mileage from the Niagara River. So you got 1 Mile Creek, 2 Mile Creek, 3 Mile Creek, 4 Mile Creek, and they
Mm-hmm.
go. There's a whole series of them all, and now they actually had indigenous names too. But this was 15 Mile Creek, and this was built by the Great Western Rail, same 1854, and very similar. But this is for the river to go underneath, so, or the creek, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
So, was this ever a train?
no,
Was it a
trains
train?
go over
No,
top of it. Trains go over top, and they still
they
go over
do
top
still.
of it. Yep,
Okay, right.
yep,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
It's
That's
still an active
very
railway.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. But it's
Yeah,
one of the
very
few
cool.
ones that just has water going underneath it. So, and this is actually pretty hard to access because it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Like there's no road to it and stuff. Um,
Hmm.
you actually have to you can paddle in up the 15 mile, or you can go, there's a farm that you have to get permission to go onto the back of their property to walk into this. So
Mhm.
and again, this was another one that Karen Lamarty took a picture of.
Yes,
So
yes. Oh,
so
kudos for her. Yeah,
yeah, so it's a great picture, and I'm
yeah,
sure there's more of a story to it. So, but and
yeah.
there again, see how pristine it looks, because there again, there's not a lot of access to it, right? So
Well, it's left alone. No
yeah,
graffiti,
it's
nothing,
not all
which is
covered in
really nice.
graffiti and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
So
So, which is great. So that's
yeah,
excellent.
yeah. So
Um,
that's another interesting one. And what's interesting is when they built that rail line. See,
mhm.
what it wound up doing is, so you had a place like Balls Falls, and there was
Yeah.
uh, s- uh, um, St. John's in the Short Hills, and they were actually huge sort of village. Well, we say huge, like, a couple hundred people at a time, which was huge back in the early 1800s. But they were like the main villages here. And then when they put this railway in, it basically cut them off access because the ships could come right up into Balls Falls, and this railway cut it off.
Quite an area, yeah.
Yeah. And there's actually a big stone bridge that goes across the one that cut across Jordan Harbor there, and then it just basically severed the waterways. So, and then everything moved down to the Welland Canal. So it's interesting. Now there's one more here. It might show Cambridge Galt.
Oh yeah, 1 second. It's on the other. 1 minute. Okay. All right. I got it. 1 second.
Yeah.
Look at that first try. Oh God, I'm not doing myself now. All right. One moment.
That's okay.
1 moment. All right. Bam. And
Should come up there.
Bam. Right there.
There we go. There we go. So
yeah.
So now this is an interesting one because this is out. What I love about this one, I was there probably 15 years ago, and I just came across it by happenstance kind of thing, and it was so interesting because you can see it's a double one, right? So there's one, if you can see down to the far right at the bottom, and that's for the river to go through, and then this one, it was there again, built in 1854 by the Great Western Railway, and notice the styling, right? And made by the same engineers, the same masons built all these bridges, and I loved it. And this isn't active anymore. No trains go over top of this anymore. But it's just out on a farm road out in the middle of nowhere. And I heard that this is actually one of the most haunted places, and there's different shows, and they've done a lot of there. Again, a lot of paranormal researchers and stuff have gone here, but I heard that when they made the Red Green movie, they filmed here. So
that's funny.
I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
But it's one of those destinations that you'll hear, like in the Cambridge, Galt, Kitchener, Waterloo area, that a lot of the paranormal investigators and stuff will come out and research this. I don't know what the story is to it, though. So
there's always something with bridges, especially like closed bridges, train bridges. And I mean, it could simply go back to, the people who built them. It could go back to, it's also a place where, people will end their lives.
Yeah.
Well, it's convenient,
The one thing that I loved about this one, though, is that if I didn't tell you where this was, you would swear this was somewhere in England. Like, it looks like something out of England with the double, arch bridges like that. It doesn't look like something you'd see out at an unassuming country road out in the middle of nowhere in rural southern Ontario.
It's wild.
It is. Yeah.
So we have another one here too.
What do we got here?
I'm going to share this one up. You can let me know.
How do you do? I don't even remember what I sent you.
I know. It's like a big old surprise. There we go.
Okay.
Right there.
That's another one. That's just showing the other side of this, but showing the for the water. So it's the same one, but it's to the right of this picture was the one for the vehicles, and this is for the one for the waters. So
let me look at the workmanship in it. When did they figure this one was built? Do you know?
This is 1854. Yeah.
1854. Look at that thing. Yeah. It looks better than some of the new stuff.
All these bridges we've seen were all built like 1854. Yeah, all around the same time. Because that's when the Great Western was built, right? So they all came in they had to put them all at the same time, right? So, but like I say, this part of the railway isn't active anymore. So
wow, you could just imagine all the ones that are out there, because there's so many, so many different railways.
And you were just touching this,
and
there's tons and tons of stuff around. So
they're wonderful.
All right. So a few tunnels across Niagara, but if people come, it's always good to get. I always tell people, especially like tourists and they want some place to go, like I would say, go check out the Screaming Tunnel or the Fitzpatrick Tunnel, because it's one that you can drive there and you know what I mean? You don't have to hike 20 miles and get covered in ticks and yeah, that's right. So
especially,
but,
yeah,
exactly. So, but you know, Niagara is and we've just scratched the surface on what's here, right? So, like I say, just even with the Welland Canal and that, but
well, we got 10, 15 minutes. So where do you want to take it?
Yeah. Oh, it's up to you. So, you got anything you want to?
Well, I mean, you have here tunnels from the Merritt House. Do you want me to put those?
Oh, yeah. We could do that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, so yeah. Well, you know, seeing as we're into tunnels, so in St. Catharines, and there again, because we're talking to people that aren't going to know this, but so there's the Merritt House, and she'll pull up if you pull up the picture.
I am, right now.
Yeah,
I'm a little slow. Been a long day. There we go.
So this, for people that don't know, this is the Merritt House. It's had a few different names over the years, but this was William Hamilton Merritt, which was the guy that basically came up with the idea and started the Welland Canal back in, they started digging it in 1824. It began construction. First canal was completed officially in 1829, but this is in St. Catharines, and this was his house. He actually died not that long after he built this. And what's interesting is this is up on top of, actually, you're not far from your house. So you can almost see it from your place, can you?
I can walk right to it.
Yeah, that's right. And so this was his house. And when he passed away, his son and his wife lived there. And his son, he actually dug tunnels. So down below this, what you don't get is to the left of this picture is a drop down to 12 Mile Creek. And it's a good, 150 feet drop down there. Mm-hmm. And that's where the Welland Canal ran. And he wound up digging tunnels. Well, his son dug the tunnels from the house down to the canal so they could access. And they actually had a brewery down there. It was the Bates. It's going to come to me in a minute. So it's but there was a brewery down there. What's that?
No, I'm listening.
Oh, did I lose you?
Nope, I'm here.
Oh yeah. Oh, Taylor and Bates Brewery, and it was down below. There was a shipyard down there, but they built these tunnels for access to get up and down without having to climb up this 150-foot cliff. But what wound up happening too is they started digging tunnels. So there was a hospital not too far from here, and it's believed that tunnels went out to the hospital, and then they actually dug. So just behind this house, there's a coach house there, and there was tunnels that went. They know that those are there for sure out to the coach house. The coach house is actually still there. Yes. This house was built, and it's going to come to me again in 1850s, but there was a house here before it. It was a smaller place, and then they built this. So
very haunted. Just saying.
Yeah, very haunted. A lot of that whole area, right? So this has tons of ghost stories with it. And a couple of years ago, I might have a picture there if you might show what it looks like where the tunnels are.
Yes, I've got it. 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did a tour here back before COVID days. They used to run tours there. And,
Wayne used to do the ghost tours there for the city.
Oh, did he? Yeah. So so we did the tour and got to go down into the basement. So here's the basement, and now a lot of people think the tunnels are behind that door, but they're actually not. They're down below. So see how there's like a wood flooring there? Yes. I was told that the tunnel is actually underneath that flooring, but somebody else told me it's actually over by the staircase that comes down here. So, but it's actually below this, right? So, but it's kind of neat because this is this is in the basement of that building. Of course, you can see the old stone foundation. And
I have to tell you though, I have worked in a lot of old homes which were owned by prestigious men, who would belong to like societies such as the Freemasons, and such, and they always had tunnels that went out because they wanted to go out privately, quietly, and some of these tunnels would just crisscross around.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what they believe here. There's St. Catherine's had all kinds of. They found like when they the old hospital there, not too far from you guys, when they just brought that down, they found old tunnels there. They actually found a swimming pool in the basement of the hospital. Yeah, but there was tunnels there, and when they built the new Burgoyne Bridge a few years back, they actually uncovered the one tunnel that went down. And they came across it as they were building the base for the Burgoyne Bridge. Yeah.
So in this house here, are the tunnels still intact? Do you know?
No.
So they're buried.
Yeah. As far as we know, the tunnels. The only tunnel that might be intact is the one that goes from here to the coach house, because it's really only about 30 feet out to it. So that might still be intact, but I'm pretty sure all the other ones were rather filled in or they've collapsed by now. They know the one that went down there was collapsed or filled in. So, but there are other tunnels that might be, like, people say they've seen them and stuff, right? So there was a bit of a rumor that went around for a while that these tunnels were used during the for the Underground Railway, but there's actually there is no evidence of that. But then again, if you think about it, there might not
in the water.
Well, not only that, but people say, well, there's no evidence of it, and there's no written evidence, there's no documentation. But the one thing that, as they say, sometimes myth and legends grow from a base of reality. But here's the one thing I always contest with that. If you're trying to hide people and you don't want anybody to know what you're doing, you don't write about it and you don't document it. You keep it secret, right?
No, exactly.
So it could be, but I guess it's the timing that it happened, and it was kind of far away from, everything that was going on. I don't know, but if you go to most scholars will tell you there's just no evidence that it ever happened. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, but that's, what I mean? You got to kind of go with that. But I always contest is that, but if I'm trying to hide somebody, I'm going to not, you know what I mean? It's like Gandalf says. What does Gandalf say? Keep it quiet, keep it safe. So
exactly.
But I always thought, but it's an interesting building. Of course, that became a radio station, right? So
97.
So that's 97.7 and 610, and it still is a radio station. So it was actually a hospital for a while too, right? In World War I, it was used as a hospital, and so it had quite a history. It was a couple of other things too. So it might have been a hotel or something for a bit too. Yeah. So.
Well, it's big enough. I like the story though, where he had a bit of a competition going with his brother, and his brother built a big mansion right over.
On the other side.
And just said, every time you come out, you're just going to see my big house. This is bigger.
And that's that. Of course, that big mansion's now a pretty popular place to go to. So. And I think his son lived there for a bit too. So, but Rodman Hall, that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, it is. It's stunning.
Yeah, really, and of course, it's interesting is we've talked about this before, but right below that house, down where we were talking over the Burgoyne Bridge, a lot of people know there's a buried ship there. There's a 1860s, 1870s buried schooner there. So, and it's been part of an archaeological study that they.
For quite some time. When
Yeah,
are they
yeah,
going
yeah,
to,
yeah, and they're still looking to do more there, but
right.
there's a lot of red tape in it, right? So,
Mhm.
but hopefully they can get back on that soon. But
Well, it's safe in the water, but as
yeah,
as
well,
far
it's
as,
actually on land. That's just it. It's not in the water.
oh,
Yeah, it's up
oh,
on land. So
oh,
it was water at one time, but it all got filled in, right? So,
yeah.
but
That's crazy.
yeah,
Wayne says, oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah, Wayne.
Wayne was saying about the Merritt House. He goes, one of the tales from that house, because he did the tours there, was in
Yeah.
the morning when the radio crew came in and found a locked CD room tossed about with only about 12 CDs left standing on the various shelves.
Oh,
So somebody was annoyed with the music.
yeah.
Pretty hardcore music. That's it.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if
funny.
CDs never got tossed. Maybe they were like the good ones or the bad ones. I don't know.
know. I also remember a story coming through about, I guess, a staff member going down to one of the pop machines trying to get a beverage out of it, and something grabbed him and smacked him right into the machine.
Right.
Like, so something very aggressive. For
Oh
sure.
yeah. And there again, a lot of stuff happened there, right? Especially like when it was a home for like World War I vets that had come back and they'd gone through a lot of trauma and stuff. So you talk about the residuals from that alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it makes sense. But no, it's like I say, that whole St. Catharines has lots of history. Like I say, you guys live in a pretty historic area yourself now, so
we do.
Yeah. You guys are right below an old shipyard that was there too. So
I know. Right above, you mean?
Yeah.
I know. I often look over and just say, "Oh my gosh, I wonder what this would have looked like to look over this area." Because the house is, well, easily 100+ years old, so it would have been here maybe as a cottage at one time for worker, because it very much now it's got a very large footprint. It's very deceiving when you look at it. We first.
Well, and you got to remember too,
on.
right across the river, the canal was 20-30 mills, and that whole section was all mills at one time, and of course, right across, the road from you guys was. I think it's fascinating, and I every time I drive there, I always point out to people that right where we're driving. So you get off the 406 and go up. What's the big road? The road there. What's the one? I can't remember the name of it now. Geneva, yeah.
Or St.
What's
Paul.
that? No, it's Geneva. So when you get off the 406 onto Geneva to head to St. Paul, as soon as you come up to that first light, right there where that light is, that was the first auto manufacturer in Canada.
Crazy.
Yeah. And that's where the Packards were built, right there. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and there's actually pictures of where that light is. There's pictures of the building that was there, and that was all removed. Of course, that intersection basically goes right over top of the Hewlett Packard place there. So
it's insane. It's just everywhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And all the mills and the raceways that used to be, in that whole area. So, but it would have been amazing that at one time you could have sat at your place, looked out the window, and watched a tall ship go by. So you would have seen the sails.
I know.
Well, not the sails, but
I'm here in the wrong era.
Yeah, that's right.
I know. No, it's true. It is. It's really, truly beautiful. And just so grateful, to be here and just to still watch it all unfold. Still all unfolding all the way around, and everywhere you go, you can see traces of the first canal, the second canal. And of course, the main canal now, which is just it's a technology marvel.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pretty neat that to think that there was 4 different canals here at one time. So all different iterations of it. And as the ships got bigger, they had to build the canals bigger, right? So
they did. It's just incredible.
Yeah. So, yeah, anyway, no, I mean, I had a great talk. We still got a couple minutes left, or what's the deal?
Well, I can give you as many minutes as you
Oh,
want. But
so,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
like you say, there's so much you could get into.
Mhm.
Say we just kind of scratched the surface on a lot of stuff, but
We did. And you
yeah,
know what? Like, you've just spent so much time digging up this information and finding it, and your social media Facebook group page has grown leaps and bounds. Because I remember when you started it,
yeah, yeah. We had a
and
couple hundred people, and now we're going to pop 39,000 probably by the end of the month. So, yeah.
see,
Or not
that's
39, sorry, 29,000. Yeah,
yeah,
getting ahead
no,
of
that's
myself here.
incredible. Yeah, that's
Yeah, we'll
incredible.
get there. So, but
Well, you will. But what I love is how people come forward and give you so much information.
right, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and
and
they
that was
give
the
you,
idea of doing this, right? Is to get
yeah.
everybody, get people involved and add the information, and
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
and it sparked like one of the things, I talked about the indigenous stuff, and it sparked somebody I'd done a post about the Shawneton and the neutrals, and somebody said, "Hey, did you know there's a museum in Fort Erie that is all about that?" And I'm like, "Well, there's the Fort Erie." He said, "No. It's at the Customs building." And I'm like, "Really? I've never heard of it before." And they said, "Yeah." So
Yeah.
that was about a month ago. Somebody mentioned that, and I'd never heard of this place before. So
Yeah.
we went out on the weekend, or no, it's not the weekend. A couple of days ago, me and my buddy there, John Crum, and he's the one that, if you ever watch our videos, he plays the piano. He's the
Yes.
piano player.
Yes.
And we just got Jim Hutchinson along. We got the pilot, the piano player, and they call me the professor. So, the three P's, right?
That's
So
cool. That's cool.
and so this person told me about this. So then we wound up going a couple days ago, and we found it. And
Yeah.
but it's hidden. And what an amazing little gallery! It's called the. I'll see the Mimsaway something. I can't even say it. Gallery, and
Yeah.
you look it up. It's on my. I got it on my page, but. A lot of the artifacts that they discovered in and around Fort Erie are on display there. They got artifacts going back, 10,000 years, and some great stuff there. Great little museum, but that came from somebody, you know what I mean? And I never knew. So I posted about it actually this morning. And you know how many people came on and said, "We never even knew this existed." like it's pretty funny. And what's even funnier is that when we went there, so we couldn't find it at first. So we stopped in and went in to talk to the customs office, because you figure they're going to know. So we went in and talked to customs, and the guy come over and he goes, "What do you?" He looked at us like we just walked off the planet Mars. He's like, "There's nothing like that here." He said, "Yeah," and I'm showing him pictures of it. He goes, "Well, I've never seen it or heard of it before." So then finally somebody else came over. He says, "Yeah, it's up at the other end of the street there, but it's in part of our building." And like the people that work there don't even know this exists.
It's like a hidden little gem.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's free to go there. It's free to park. It's open like Tuesday to Friday from like 9 to 4 kind of thing. And it's free. And I tell people, go check it out. If you go on my page, Historical Niagara, all the info's there, where to find it and stuff. And it's amazing. They actually have, is interesting is when they did the dig there, they found dog skeletons. And there's actually at this gallery, they've made it look like an archaeological dig inside the building, but they got one of the dog skeletons in its position. And it talks about that they've got like some interpretive information behind it. And it talks about how the First Nations people, they were the first ones to domesticate dogs, right? Or wolves. Yeah, wolves. And they actually would bury the dog wasn't, just tossed aside. It was buried like in a proper burial and stuff, right? And it was probably revered, right? So it's interesting how they have the little burial there, and it's got the actual bones that they found. So, or they might be cast. I don't know. It doesn't really.
It's still very, very cool.
Yeah, it is. It is
how they treated them. It's incredible part of
yeah,
history.
yeah. So, but they say man's first friend was with the First Nations, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's wonderful. I do. I love that. We've covered so much ground tonight, and I know there's so much more, and I'm definitely open to doing another one.
For sure.
Anytime, maybe in the fall when you have the summer to investigate a whole.
We're so busy. I got a big show coming up this weekend, 3-day show in Sharkston at the Antique Power Association. So I'm going to have. I'll say it real quick. There, a couple years ago, I had a gentleman in his late 90s. Gifted me before he passed away, and then he passed away. Gifted me over 6,000 artifacts that came from a museum collection. They were actually all going to be sitting in a basement somewhere, and they wound up. I became the steward of them, and some of them were donated to a few places, but I got permission to look after them and take them on tour. So I take them to shows and to my talks and get the information out there. And of course, there's Indigenous artifacts. There's Ward 1812. There's other stuff there too, but I think it's great because it gets it out in the public. Unfortunately, and Michelle knows this as well, a lot of these collections that people find or whatever go to these museums never see the light of day again. And it's so sad, right? Because I mean, look, the Royal Ontario Museum does great stuff, but they also have there's literally 10 million Indigenous artifacts sitting in a warehouse somewhere, and they'll never see the light of day again. And there's so much knowledge and stuff we can learn from that stuff. And to me, it's a shame that it doesn't get seen. So that's what I wanted to bring. Hey, this isn't the biggest, best collection in the world, but it's a nice cross section of stuff that's been discovered across Niagara. And it's great to get out to the public, show them what this material is, why they use it, how they traded with it. And, that's what I wanted to bring with this. And it's been so well received
well, you're getting it out there. People, it's the first time that people have actually laid eyes on some of this stuff.
And it's great too because we get people that'll come and bring stuff. So I get people say, "Hey, I found this in my backyard and this," and then I can go through the steps. Because they're like, "Well, what do I do with this?" Or and I can tell them, "Okay, well, this is the rules and this is that, but this is what you should do," and then I can help them identify what that is, right? So and I think that's important. So.
And who knew that this is the road you would end up on? And I'm so grateful that you did, because you are, like Wayne had mentioned, you're so very passionate about it. And you have a great way of explaining things, and people gravitate to you, not just to listen to you, because you're an awesome orator and storyteller, but I people gravitate to you and they just want to give you things of historic things. You're the guy, the history guy.
Mind you, Vicky is getting kind of fed up with all the people showing up at my door just dropping artifacts off. Right?
I know.
You got no more room for that. Where are you going to put all your Star Wars stuff?
You can't keep it all, Dave. You can't.
But I do. I have to say, I really appreciate that. And it really lends to what's doing. And like I say, this weekend too, it's my first time. I decided I'm going to. I wanted to do something to honor some of my family and that, but and my heritage, and so I decided to go with a French voyageur outfit, and people have been donated. So I had a woman donated a musket to me. Another woman donated me a pair of snowshoes. I had a gentleman from Quebec that was Métis. He actually made me the Métis sash and the hat. And Vicky, my wife, made the shirts, and I got my friend gave me a nice pair of Indigenous made deerskin, the moccasins, but the high ones that come up to your knees, and so it's putting it all together. And I thought that would be a great way to display the artifacts, and because it's part of the culture and stuff, and of course the Métis and the Indigenous and the French Canadians, and that played such a big part in the 16 and 1700s across all of Canada. So I thought it was a great way to sort of do that, and it's all been stuff people have given to me. So
it is awesome. It is awesome, and I think couldn't be a better guy.
Well, I got the beard for it. Although with my red hat, everybody says with the red hat and my green shirt, I look like a garden gnome. So.
Well, you might, but we don't want to do that.
But that's okay. So, garden gnomes are supposed to be lucky, right? So, or something. I don't know.
Depends on the perspective.
Yeah, that's right.
I per se am not a fan of said garden gnomes. But
but that's okay.
But thank you so much.
Oh, very welcome. Yeah, we'll do this again. Yeah. So
I would love to. Let's look at some time in the fall when you've had the summer to research and such. And I would love to have you on.
Maybe the next time you see me, my beard will be a little whiter, though.
You might, and we might be able to advertise that whole thing.
That's right. Yeah. That'll be November. Yeah. So.
Well, you know what? We'll do it for November, right in the beginning.
Yeah. Good. Sounds good. Well, thanks very much for having me, and thanks everybody for listening in and following along. And I got to go to bed soon. So.
All right, my friend.
Way past it. I'm on toddler hours, right? So I'm usually in bed like 3 hours ago. So I had to do my dialysis today. So that's the one thing we never talked about, but we'll talk about that another time. So I have, for people that don't know, I have complete kidney failures. So I have to do dialysis 3 to 4 times a week just to keep alive. But
and he's still getting out there and getting
I'm still trying to, doing this stuff at least keeps me kind of going, because, as you know, I can't do, I used to drive truck for 30 years and I can't do that anymore. Right. So,
no, absolutely. But this is your calling, I think.
Well, thank you. So,
So, all right.
Appreciate it. Well, we'll talk again.
We will, because I'll be in touch with you, because I'm already booking that far. So
there you go.
All right.
Sounds good. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Good night. Bye-bye. Well, that definitely was another fantastic show. He's just so interesting to talk to, and he's super interesting when you can see him live and go in and see the artifacts and such. It's just an amazing collection, and he's a wealth of information. So anyway, thank you guys all for tuning in. So grateful to have you in chat. We've had quite a few people and a lot of people from X. So thank you guys. You can always comment. We can see it all, and we appreciate you all so very much. Tomorrow night, I am joined by another very good friend, John Semple. I think you guys would have seen him on with Jack Roth probably a couple months back, a few weeks ago. And we decided we were going to kind of go back in time a little bit and talk about the sky people and sky ships and the similarities between all of these ancient cultures throughout the world. Just really amazing stuff. And we thought, you know what, let's just do it. So also, I just want to put out there for Beyond the Outer Realm next Tuesday, Carol Ann Idarola joins me again for another uncensored talk with a whole bunch of new topics. It's just going to go in crazy places. It always does. So anyway, you're not going to want to miss that. So big thank you to, first off, our special guest and dear friend, Dave Bennison, and all of you guys in the chat room. Again, appreciate you so very much. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee for being a part of our journey for the last few years. Big thank you to Justin Snicker and Steve McGinnis. Big thank you, United Public Radio, UFO Paranormal Radio, 105.3, 107.7. And that's all for tonight, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.